So now it's time for our first panel, which will dive into reimagining plastic, rethinking its use, management, and future. It will be moderated by Dhanush, founder of Marabanu, and this discussion brings together circular innovators and change makers. So let me introduce them. The first one is Rahul Singh of Reverse, India's first clean tech platform used on mainstreaming packaging reuse. From launching ventures at 17 to building scalable reuse systems that have diverted over 1,200 tons of waste, Rahul is redefining how India thinks about circular packaging. I would love to know more about it. The next one is Anish Malpani, the founder of Without, a social enterprise turning unrecyclable plastic into stylish sunglasses while empowering waste pickers out of poverty. Their patented innovation has earned recognition from Shark Tank India, TEDx, and History TV 18. No doubt about that. The next speaker is Ferdin Sylvester, the founding partner of One Earth Foundation, a sustainability and climate resilience expert, leading marine plastic and coastal adaptation programs through waste mitigation and ecosystem conservation. And we have one more speaker, Ms. Deepa Sai. She's a strategist and ecosystem builder, quietly powering impact and circularity ventures across India. As a director of EcoHQ, she brings her experience across intersectional sustainability, capital, and community development. She advises and mentors founders, funds, and change makers across geographies. So let's join them in exploring how we can redesign our relationship with plastic. I'm curious. Please.
Thank you so much, Zenita, for this power-packed introduction. And good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, I'm Dhanush. I'm the founder of Marabanu. And it's a real privilege to welcome you all to today's panel on Plastics Reimagined. Here we spotlight bold thinkers and change makers who are rewriting the rules of innovation, impact, and purpose in India. To reiterate, we have Anish from Without, Ferdin Sylvester from One Earth Foundation, Rahul Singh from Reverse, and Deepa Sai from EcoHQ. Further ado, let's dive into the panel. Okay, so beyond all these new topics like the circularity and all these technical words, this question is towards Anish. What is the real world evidence which shows that circularity solutions are working for hard plastics or stubborn waste streams? Can you talk a bit about it?
Yeah, there's not a lot of evidence that it's working yet, right? It's still a work in progress, from what I understand. There's a lot of solutions for hard, rigid plastics like PET and HDPE. But when it comes to flexibles, the recycling rate is less than 1% globally. But there are a few like bright spots. I think in India, for example, we have a company called Lucro that does flexibles. They do monomaterial flexibles. They don't do multi-layer packaging. We also have a company called Ricron Panels that is doing multi-layered packaging. So they also do, but they make MLP into boards. They compress them. Then we also have a company called Polycycle that's working on pyrolysis of low quality flexibles, but not metallized multi-layered plastic packaging. And as a shameless shout out, we are developing technology that works with metallized multi-layered plastic packaging. Things like your chips packet, your chocolate wrappers, anything, even like your coffee pouches or your tobacco pouches. These all have multiple layers, and those are very hard to recycle. Like very few people are doing that. We found a new technology that can use a combination of chemical and mechanical engineering to separate the layers and extract materials. So what's important is that it's cost efficient, and we're just about to build our pilot plant. So we're also very nervous, and we should be able to prove that it works at a scale, at a demonstrative, at a scale that can potentially be converted into commercial scale. So very confident, but yeah, not a lot of people doing this, and the reason I think is because there's not enough money in it, right? It's a hard problem to solve. So
Yeah.
but there's some traction. People are trying.
Okay. So, like as you were saying, like about different players playing in different levels for you. So, is there is there a way that you're planning to bring informal players into these kind of systems, like recovery, reuse, or design?
Yeah, I mean that's very important to us. It's a core part of our DNA. But it's a hard. So just for example, right? If you want to, it's an additional cost, right? So how do you justify the economics?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for instance, formalize these former waste pickers, graduate them out of poverty into machine operators, quality control specialists, and we pay them like 2x, we give them ESOPs, but that's us going above and beyond.
Yeah.
In the short run, it does not make financial sense. But the assumption is, and the hypothesis is, that in the long run, it will lead to more attrition, better employee, into less attrition. And attrition is a big cost for companies, especially in labor, right? People just leave, and then you have to retrain, find new labor, and it's really painful. So we are trying to make a case that in the long run, it'll actually make sense for this to happen. But for me, it's a moral obligation. I think it's something that we have to do. And so how do you find the right financial model to sustain that?
Okay. So, like again, coming back to the same question, like something on the same topic. So, what is your opinion on bioplastics or like controlled incineration and other alternatives that they are currently trying to implement? And yeah.
Yeah, I think, when everyone talks about circularity, especially with plastics, they talk about three things. It's reducing consumption, alternative materials, and then recycling. And, some people are like, we should reduce consumption, no, ban all plastic. Some people are like, oh, we should find a miracle material. Some people say recycling is the answer. None of these are the answers. There's no silver bullet. I think it's some combination of all three of these things. And anybody, I think, who says that it's only one thing that works, I try to not listen, because I'm like, I think you're missing the picture. You're biased, right? Like, we're biased towards recycling because we're like, oh, recycling, recycling. It's a bit of all three. Now, with bioplastics specifically, what I think the issue right now is that everyone's excited. It's like finding Jesus, finding God, right? Like, we find this miracle material that's perfect, but it's causing more collateral damage, I think. So just some numbers for you. And there's not a lot of studies, so it's hard to know. But initially, the studies say that 70 to 90% of all bioplastics are either industrially compostable or non-compostable, which basically means that they're not really compostable because you need special conditions for them to degrade. The 10% that are considered home compostable, UK did a study and they found that 60% fail home compostability tests. Now, these same bioplastics also are energy intensive. There's Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 types of bioplastics. You don't want to grow food to make plastic. That's not necessarily a good bet. Even big companies like L'Oreal, for instance, who we talk to, say that we don't look at Gen 1, we look at Gen 3, which is like using waste, agricultural waste. And also bioplastics contaminate the plastic recycling stream. So the little plastic that's being recycled actually gets worsened by bioplastic. So I think there's a big allure towards bioplastic that we have to be very careful about. It's causing more collateral damage, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't be coming up with bioplastics, but the application has to be really specific, and we have to be more holistic about the way we think about it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And since we are on the topic of plastic reuse and everything, so Rahul, can you talk about how did you build your first reuse infrastructure?
Am I audible?
Yeah, right now you are. Yeah.
So yeah, we are reverse.
Yeah.
And we are a packaging reuse company. Like most of us just talked about reducing recycling. A lot of emphasis have been either on two extremes, according to me. It says like either reduce your consumption, don't buy plastics, find alternatives, and all of that, bioplastics, as you rightly mentioned. And the second is about recycling, but we miss the big picture in between them, which is like reusing the packaging.
Okay.
So we were not fundamentally designed to do that. So when the problem grew, the only option was that, we have something that cannot be reused. The only way to reduce this waste pile is to start recycling them. So whereas now recycling has become way easier compared to reusing, because reusing again needs to go back 30 years back when we thought about how and when we thought about recycling.
Yeah.
So reuse is basically a bit tougher compared to recycling today.
Yeah.
So India has come up with a policy framework also, EPR 2.0, that suggests packaging reuse.
Yeah.
But how, where, when is what people are not able to connect dots. There has been a big time lobbying people are doing to push away the policy, and all that is not working out right now. So yeah, so no options left. Now people are looking at reuse, right? So if I have to talk about reuse, just if we go just 70, 80 years back, or even just 30 years back to our childhood, you would see we were reusing a lot of things. It's not some rocket science that we are trying to go back to again. So there were a lot of packaging that were being reused, repurposed, upcycled. We just lost that touch because there were too many of them lying down in and around us, and we just were it was very easy to throw them away. So that's what Reverse is trying to crack it down. So we are building India's first clean tech platform that looks and enables reuse through all stages. So once a brand manufactures and sends their product to the market, we have programs through which we are causing behavior change where people are returning their packaging, getting rewarded to do that. The second pillar we are building, which is the infrastructure, which you mentioned me to talk about. We are building the platform, we are building the plugins, drop-off kiosks, segregation units, sanitation units. So when a collected packaging can be moved back to a facility where they are segregated brand-wise, SKU-wise, sub-SKU-wise, we clean them up, we make them like a new packaging, and then deliver that packaging, which is on par with a new packaging, back to the brands at a 30% lower cost and up to 55% lesser emissions. So that's what we are doing. We are also looking at there are a bit of challenges, which we can maybe, if I have more time, I can stress on.
Yes.
Whereas, on the way, we are doing a bit of it. The reason was to build infrastructures because country lacks infrastructure to reuse. We have limited infrastructure that just focuses on reuse. The idea was to just do R&D and come up with 1 or 2 plants, which you showcase to the world and you can replicate it through franchising, vendorship models, and so on. So our first 2 facilities have been focusing as more like an R&D facility. So we have one facility in Goa, which focuses on sanitization, where we feed dirty bottles from one side and the clean bottles come out on the other side, which has 12 steps of chemical, mechanical, and a lot of more processes. And the Bangalore R&D facility, where we are focusing on, say we have a pile of collected materials, how do we sort them brand-wise and SKU-wise? That's what the segregation R&D facilities look at. So yeah.
Okay, that's a good elaborate one. So as you said about all these the facilities, like the infrastructure that you are developing, how do you think that the customers play the role in the hygiene, logistics, as well as the regulation aspect of the entire thing?
So with customers' impact, the first thing is the design. Like I think a couple of us mentioned design, right? The design has to fundamentally change, or it has, so like if a bottle that is weighing say 300 grams today, it has to go to 450 grams per bottle such that it can be reused a couple of times, not just one more time, but a couple of more times, because such that it can take the stress of temperature, mechanical push pull, locks being intact. So there's a lot of design aspects to reusability is associated. Second, we need to go back to some format of generic packaging, where one common, or say 90% of the packaging is usually the body of the packaging, and maybe 10% is lid and labels and so on. So that 90% of packaging can be majorly generic for one type of product. That's one way to look at it. So brands play very key roles in these 2 things, because this requires time, effort, energy, capital, prototyping, and finding and working with a partner and funding them to do pilots. The third major change is the behavior change.
Yeah.
So like for brands, when you're giving them back a reusable or pre-used packaging, so it's more like they say it's a second-hand packaging. It is something which has been used once earlier. So it should ideally come at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
So that's what is the behavior that we need to change, because there's a lot of effort. Of course, they are saving in terms of the emissions. They are saving in terms of their compliance with ESG norms, CPR norms. Why do you need to get another cost benefit just coming from that psychology that it is something which is old or has been used previously? I cannot pay 100% or on par with the new packaging that I'm buying. That these are 3 key pillars that need to change from the brand side.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
one more I would want to add is that
Sure.
so say when we do a lot of community drives to take back the packaging, we all usually operate at a mass consumption point or at a society level where 500 plus apartments are there. We do return drives, and you'll not believe Indian consumers are still sensitive. They say, okay, this paper bag, if you are buying new or a company is buying new, they are buying for 12 rupees. If I'm returning it to you, I should get a tangible return
Yeah.
reward.
Okay.
So this is where again either the brand has to buy on par such that the consumer can be rewarded to return it, or brand has to partner in terms of rewarding the consumer to do a take back program. So yeah, these four aspects where brands partnerships can bring in a lot of change in reuse ecosystem.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Since we talked about behavior and peoples and communities, I'll ask a question to Ferdin. So Ferdin, you have worked with a lot of youngsters, communities, and local governments in using when you're working with One Earth. So from your experience, what are the strongest leverages for grassroots implementation of these policies about plastic circularity or sustainability and etc.?
When you talk about grassroots, yeah, am I audible?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So, hey, first of all, thank you for having me here. Nice to meet all of you, the panelists, Rahul, Anish, and Deepa, of course. So I've worked with One Earth for 2.5 years now. And behavior change and working with the people is like one of the focus areas of our organization, because that's where we can see the change happening. Of course, we have policies, we have the brands, but unless there's adoption and understanding of these key leverages of why we need to do this, we won't see that change happening on the ground. So working with schools, working with colleges, and especially panchayats. So we try to bridge that gap. A lot of panchayats, you see, they don't have the knowledge of why plastic has to be recycled. Even microplastics, what happens to it when it enters the food chain. So these things have to be, in a way, explained to them. So they internalize it and then they work in their systems to make it better. We have all the, I would say, the basic infrastructure to collect waste, for example, at the grassroots panchayat level. But it's not done in a way that it requires, because they don't have the incentive. Why should we do this, right? This is a big problem. How does it affect them? It's not a global problem. It's not like a world-ending problem. How does it affect me? So that key point is what we work on. How does this, make it relatable to you and to me?
So since it's about a mindset perspective, I think that's what you're trying to convey over here. So how do you think that the policies can encourage in order to people have the shift in the mindset perspective? Do you have any insights of those?
Because, the best shift for mindset change is some sort of economic leverage.
Okay.
Like even Rahul was mentioning that they ask for some sort of reward. That is the best and the quickest way, to get this change happening. So we are working with fishing communities. So One Earth is headquartered in Goa, and it's fishing industry is a major industry here. So one of the waste from fishing industry is the nets, nylon, HDP. Usually what happens is when it's left in the environment, you have sun, sand, seawater, salt. These plastics cannot be recycled. They are not accepted for recycling. So either it's end of life for them. So we are working on creating products from these low value or no value plastics. So that is possible. But then we also need something incentivized for them so that they collect and sort it and bring it to us. So we pay them for it. And now that's moving the needle for them. Like they are now coming on board to us. They are coming. They're calling us and saying, can we join this program?
Okay.
So that is a shift. And then once we sell these products, we get enough, back reverse incentives to pass it on to these guys, the fishing communities.
Yeah. Okay. So, when you're trying to implement it, is there any policy-wise, is there any problem or issue that you faced when you're trying to implement this what are your real-world obstacles for it? Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you from the same case, the fishing industry waste. Now, fishing industry comes under the Department of Fisheries and all. But the plastic comes under a different department. It comes under Goa Waste Management Corporation and maybe the Pollution Control Board. And also there's a panchayat involved. who's
Yeah.
supposed to do the collection. There's so many different departments and
Yes.
institutions, but nobody wants to take responsibility for this waste stream.
Okay.
Panchayat said it's not ours, it's the Department of Agriculture. You go to them. They will say, go to Goa State Pollution Control Board, they will have a solution. So nobody wants to deal with this waste. In general, nobody wants to deal with waste. That is the baseline, actually.
Okay.
So as long as there's somebody else who can do it, they're happy. So when
Happy to
we
do
go
it.
to them and say, okay, this is the solution we have, they're like, yeah, bring it on. Like,
Yes,
we'll
take
support
it.
you wholeheartedly. We can't
Yeah.
give you land or
Little.
infrastructure. We can't give you anything else, but we'll support you for sure.
Take it. Yeah.
The full support from them, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Ferdin. Yeah. And then, like, since we are talking about that, I wanted to move to our next panelist, which is Deepa. So Deepa, you have worked with a lot of founders in circular economy as well as sustainability. What do you think is the biggest early stage challenges that they face, when they're trying to scale in India, especially in waste tech, where our remaining panelists are working as well. So can you share your few cents on it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, Dhanush. Thank you for having me in the panel. Honored to share the panel with Ferdin, Anish, and Rahul. So, as you know, I was one of the co-curators of this panel, right? It was very intentional. That's because I wanted it from the horse directly from the horse's mouth, right? So they've kind of covered most of the points.
Yeah.
So quickly to put it across, from all the rants I've heard from founders all these years, there's a lot of system inertia. So that includes investors, impact investors, early stage, they only want to fund SaaS. They don't want to fund anything that's infrastructure heavy, right? And they will probably fund for growth stage, founders who are cash flow positive, but not early stage founders. And then government, of course, there are a lot of government grants and initiatives. Startup TN is doing an amazing job. You know that, and you know that how many grants we've discussed, right, Dhanush, between ourselves.
Yeah.
So there's Sustain TN initiative. There's Tamil Nadu Green, Climate Fund. So there's so many initiatives that are coming, but not all states are doing this, right? And especially imagine an early stage founder to get a government tender. They'll have to first have 50 lakhs, and then they'll have to bribe all the way through, and then there is a lot of red tape, extra commissions that they have to pay. So nobody has that kind of money, right? So and there is a lot of consumer apathy. What's in it for me? So everybody is like, what's in it for me, right? So having that said, founders also, I would say that they also lack a lot of information. First thing is they are all hyped up about the startup ecosystem, and they're like, oh, I'm going to save the world, I'm going to be all a hero and stuff like that. But see, they need to kind of prepare themselves if they're coming to waste tech, right? It's not like a desk job. You made some cool SaaS and called it a day, and then you have like tons of peer. No, it's a community. Waste management is a community centric issue. These guys who are sitting here with me, they're all doing B2C, community centric solutions. It's so tough to financially incentivize and become cash flow positive and have credibility in the market. And then you cannot like start on day one and hunt for investors on day two and nag investors on day three. That's what's happening. You have to show your credibility with grants. There are grants. Go hunt for grants. Show your credibility. And of course, there are a lot of issues with incubators also. So they'll have to find the right incubators where the incubators can get them to pilot, and give them some inventory space or set them up with some kind of factory, space or lab space. So not all incubators do that. Very select incubators do that. Then you have this whole advisor who take a lot of equity, and then they are going to ruin your life. So founders need to be very smart, clever. They need to first understand the market before trying out anything. They need to be really savvy. They need to understand what are the pros and cons of getting into waste tech, and then consciously make that move and have tons of money in the background to help them up on so I know Anish has got tons of grants. He even won at Shark Tank. He's still raising grants. And I know that Anish knows a lot of investors, right? So it's not all hunky dory, right? It's a lot, lifelong, like it's a marathon, and community-centric, being community-centric is very tough, and they need to know that B2B is very easy. Okay, a lot of companies I'd worked with, Paperman, for example, he was B2C, he moved to B2B. Kabadi Wala Connect were B2C, they moved to B2B. Khali Bottle in Bangalore was actually doing B2C, they shut down. So I know a lot of people who shut down too. They couldn't keep up. So people need to understand all of this, and then founders need to make a conscious decision and understand that they're going to have a lot of challenges coming their way. There is a whole also. There's a way. There's government. There are so many people, and then you will have to survive through all of this, and then win. So that's my 2 cents.
Since you're being a bit political, you often talk about invisible labor and under-recognized impact in the circular economy sector. So, how do issues? So, how do issues like poor traceability, data gaps, or overemphasis on carbon footprinting? I think it's going around everywhere these days. Sideline other actual issues, faced by the frontline communities. Can you talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Anish, Ferdin, and Rahul, and again have spoken much about this. And see, we don't have many impact investors. Firstly, right? They're all in it for the money because investors, right? So for them to care about it, first they will have to understand what the climate system is, and understand what sustainability is all about, right? So all the slides Dr. Ponselvan or Harry or anybody, any respectable person here in the panel today presented, do you think most of our investors care? No, they don't know half of it. Okay, let's talk about all this ESG and net zero race that's going on, right? ESG is environment, social governance, only environment, only GHG emissions. We are only calculating GHG emissions, how much carbon footprint we've saved and how much of cost we've saved, or by saving so much carbon, what is the profit they're getting? What is the social cost of carbon? What is the social cost of mining, drilling, drill baby drill, right? So we talk about embodied carbon, let's say a bike has, right? So a bike comes with embodied carbon because we mine like crazy and then we put together the bike. So it comes with some carbon footprint, right? What is the social cost of that, cost of carbon for that bike? Where were the parts mined? All those things come into the play, right? So that's something we need to, what do you call it? Those are impact metrics that also need to come into the picture when we are talking about transparency and traceability. With RecycleNXT, you won't believe the amount of people we've reached out to just to get those numbers, right? And we've dealt with so many problems right from the start. And that kind of traceability or metrics, those kind of certifications, if you need to get to achieve those traceability things, right? You have to spend like $20,000, $50,000. Even right? Only big organizations get that. Small organizations, they patronize us, saying that don't even try, right? So and imagine the amount of informal workers that are working in the waste management sector, right? Where is the data? There is no government data. There is no private organization taking the data, right? One of our partners, Plascon, he runs this company called Plascon. His name is Ajit. He is working with rag pickers. He is working with informal waste workers. He's getting his food dirty. He's on the ground. You will have to pass through 4 or 5 dump yards to even reach his company. Okay. He is in touch with all these rag pickers. He is giving them the fair, compensations and all those things, so that he's trying to formalize them, give them some kind of, safety gear and all those things, formalize them so that they can get their rights, labor rights, right? It's not happening. He's trying to get the data. He's not able to get the data. He's not able to show the data. So he's not able to prove the investors. So he's not getting the money. He's still cash flow positive, but they want more equity. They want to see money first before they can invest in more infrastructure. So that's the issue we are facing, which needs to change. The social cost, the dignity of all these informal workers, there is no dignity given to them. So all this needs to definitely change.
Thank you so much, Deepa. Yeah. So to end the panel on a positive note, so what is the thing that gives you hope? And like Anish, can you talk about it? You know, like, what is something that gives you hope, and what impact that you're planning to make? Yeah.
I think like if we found a lot of people who've supported us throughout. It's as soon as they start realizing that the work we do is real, from all the Deepas into 100, right? That have always been supporting us in things. So that's always that's very positive to see. I also feel like it's inevitable. I think all waste is going to become a resource. The question is when, right? And how quickly can we get to that? So I think all of us here are trying to accelerate that in some ways. So I'm hopeful from that perspective. It just makes sense. And I think I am more biased towards solutions that are actually making waste valuable. I think that is the best incentive. Because if it's valuable, then there's no reason for Ferdin to convince somebody to give him fish nets. If you're like, hey, I'll pay for it, I can make, I can do something from this. So that'll be great. And I think even behavior change is important. So I think I think Rahul is working on that. That is also helpful. But if you make waste valuable, I think that solves a lot of problems. So I do feel like, and there's so many initiatives, so much positive. I mean, these summits didn't exist. I think about like 2 or 3 years ago. There's so much. Circular economy is very mainstream, and I think it is lucrative. It will be lucrative in the near future, I think. So even with investors, the idea is to find patient capital. I think that is what's hard to find, but there are investors out there that do it. There are few, very few, but there are those, and I feel like we've talked to. There are not a lot of them in India. Actually, that's not the best place, but we have found some that truly believe in what you do. So yeah, I do think that there is hope in the right. There's a path to out of this madness.
That's good. That's good. So Ferdin, what about yours? What is something that makes you push? Yeah.
Well, I think similar as per Anish said, we are moving in the right direction and we're moving fast. For example, EPR also, it is not the silver bullet, yes, but it's something that was I think first implemented in Germany in 1991. We've done it in 2011, but we are moving in leaps and bounds now. We started late, but now we are in a way catching up, and I hope that we'll stop playing catch up in the future soon.
Yeah.
And another thing that gives me hope is this. When I said the founders mafia, that actually exists. So I know so many founders, and we bounce off ideas, we bounce off funding or grant avenues. So that is also happening. And I think together we have to make the path. There is a path, we have to make it now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ferdin. And then Rahul, what gives you hope? Yeah.
4 years back when we started during COVID, right? It was a bit not the very right time to start, but we saw that a lot of people who have been veterans were just trying to deal with 2, 3 top 4, 5, 6 categories. That was something which would not give you a hope when you visit any MRF. You would see star products, they're just moving out, and others just lying back. That's where Anish came in. There are a lot of people I know in my connections who are trying to work on MLPs, thin plastics. So a lot of innovation is coming there where the real problem is. There is not a lot of problem when we talk about HDP, LDP, and not all the LDPs, but HDP, LDP, and PET. But the real problem in plastics exists bottom the line, which is where what we call as like what social cost or poverty tax that people pay when they buy a small packaging, which is 40% more costly compared to a bulk packaging, which is also on a way that a lot of it is it becomes very it hits the pocket of the lowest rate of the people very deep. They cannot recover with it. So that's where I see a lot of innovations also coming up, where there is a dry hand wash that has come up, launched by all the major corporates today, which is actually reducing in terms of the water transportation in the contents that are being transported. So a lot of innovations and data that is coming into this industry. That is one thing that gives me hope. And these are the two things. If your data is correct and you are innovating on all the aspects, this problem is no longer, I don't see this problem being persistent. If we can control the growth rate or the demand rate for plastic, we can actually take over the problem in next 10 years. That's what gives me hope.
Thank you. Dhanush. Thank you. Yeah. So Deepa, what is something which gives you hope every day? Yeah, to advise us founders. Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Yeah,
Hope
like what is something which gives you hope to help us founders, to strategize and everything. Yeah.
Okay. So I just addressed a group of Gen Z today and straight came to the summit. So they are much more aware about the climate urgency. So I have hope for the upcoming generations, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Of course, my hope in human forms are obviously sharing the panel with me, and there are several others who are not in the panel, my partners and friends. So they give me hope compared to what it was 5 years back. And finally, a lot of investors are taking interest in climate solutions, and they're coming to me for advice as a subject matter expert. So I find that, I mean, even if it is financially motivated, I still find that as a turning point, and eventually they will get to develop an empathy, I guess, when more disasters hit us. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Perfectly said. So thank you so much, Guy. Thank you, Anish, Ferdin, Rahul, and Deepa. And I'll appreciate you guys. And forgive me, this is my first panel. Yeah. So you can take over, Janita. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhanush. I can't believe this is your first panel. I was just about to compliment you. You did a wonderful job. It was very interesting, insightful, and if I may say, intense panel. And I would like to thank all the panelists as well. As you have reminded us, it's our moral obligation to go towards sustainability and circular economy. And definitely a cool idea to make sunglasses. I will definitely Google them, and I would love to have my hands on one pair of sunglasses that are made. And us as consumers, we should be more aware to which products we should go and why we should do it, as you said, because I work in education K to 12, and the students are not always aware why, how does it concern them. But if they saw what I saw today, the passion, the energy to change the planet, and the reasons why we should do it, I think their awareness and way of thinking would definitely change. And Deepa has showed us the challenges, the real world challenges when somebody wants to start a business. Well, the next one